Thank you for joining me today. This may seem familiar to some of you. I started this about a month ago, but it has since disappeared from YouTube, and then we had the COVID-related interruption. So for the sake of continuity, I'll do this again, and then we can continue. Today, I want to at least start exploring Matthew 6, 19 through 21. It's a short passage, but when unpackaged, it gives us a lot to consider. Among the gospel writers, the author of Matthew can be seen as the ethicist. The rules for proper living in Christ are prominent in his gospel. So Matthew 6, 19 through 21. Do not store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also. Certainly in the latter part of the 1st century CE, when this was probably written, the idea of hoarding tangible wealth in the form of cloth, grain, iron, and money would have been well understood in the context of accumulating wealth, perhaps for the sake of accumulating wealth. We can probably understand this in a current context of stocks, bonds, property investments, where yields drop, interest rates change, and even rising waters can devalue land. Matthew tells us these treasures are transitory. They will ultimately be lost through disaster, calamity, and eventually our own deaths. And in the end, will count to nothing. I think we can also understand this lesson in the terms of our intangible treasures. Those could be art, music, even writing. It could be a physical skill, organizational abilities, scholarship, spiritual and social insight, sometimes even our passions and our ability to inspire others. They can be hidden away and lost, if not before, at the time of our infirmity or death, and count as nothing. During the Exodus, God provided manna to sustain his people. If you remember the story, the manna was to be used when it was provided. Those who tried to store it away found it spoiled the next day. What we have and what we are gifts from God. We do not control the circumstances of our birth or our innate intellect and abilities. Think of what we have. Our possessions, wealth, skills, and abilities is our manna, meant to be used, not stored away. Let us each continue this meditation individually, examining our own lives. What are we storing up on earth, tangible or intangible, that will eventually go away and count for nothing? Next time, we'll consider treasures in heaven. Grace and peace.